Welcome to MaryCast. This is Dr. Mark Miravalle, Professor of Theology and Mariology at the Franciscan University of Steubenville. And I have to say, in this first segment, I'm thrilled to be able to speak to you through Ave Maria about the Mother of Jesus. Yes, we're starting a new series on Our Lady, on the Mother of Jesus. She's really the woman of many names. She's called the Mother of God, the Queen, the Virgin of Nazareth, the co-redemptrix, and pretty much everything in between. And our goal is to tap the fullness of the truth of Mary. And I want to say from the get-go of our series here, this show is not exclusively for Catholics in any means. Catholics believe, and I believe as a Catholic theologian, that when Jesus gave Mary as the final gift from the cross to all humanity, it was a universal gift. She certainly wasn't a gift from Jesus just to Catholics or just to the Orthodox faith who have a beautiful love of Our Lady, but it was a gift of Jesus, the gift of His mother, the gift of great price to each and every human being. And we may not agree on that, but that's what I'd like to dialogue about. I'd like us to talk about the role of the Mother of Jesus in all of her capacities. So, what we're going to do in MaryCast is rather bold. We're going to talk about a number of themes regarding the Mother of Jesus, such as Mary in the dogmatic and doctrinal teachings of the Church. What does that mean? That means there's certain truths which the Church has seen to be present in Scripture and in the tradition of the Church, and is taught authoritatively by the magisterium of the Church, by the popes and the bishops in union with the Pope. We're going to deal with dogmas and doctrines regarding Mary. We're also going to deal with apparitions of Mary. Everyone has heard of Mary, reports of Mary appearing here and there at Lourdes, at Fatima, at Guadalupe, more recently at places like Medjugorje, at least reports of Mary appearing to humanity right now. Now, this is not at all simply a thing of the Church. Time and Newsweek and CNN and Fox News have reported these events because they're world phenomena. And if they're world phenomena, we ought to talk about it. We ought to at least examine, is this stuff legitimate? Is it authentic? Or is it nonsense? How does the Church use criteria and what criteria to say, yeah, we believe that Mary appeared at Fatima to 3 Portuguese kids. And we don't believe that Mary appeared to a woman up in the Quebec area who thought she was the 4th person of the Trinity. Who makes the call on these things? What does the Church use to determine these things? So we're going to talk about Marian apparitions as well. We're going to talk about forms of traditional Marian prayer like the Rosary. Many people heard and understood that during the reign of John Paul II as Pope, he added 5 new mysteries to the Rosary. Well, for some, they said, well, what's the Rosary to begin with? For others, they said, well, how could he change a prayer that's been a prayer since the 13th century? We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what the Rosary is as a gospel meditation. We're going to talk about why are Protestant Christians praying the Rosary more now than any time since the Protestant Reformation of 1517. What would be moving Protestant Christians to newly examine the Rosary prayer? Why is it that we actually have numerous psychologists and psychiatrists and counselors saying to modern men and women, you got to slow down. You're moving too quickly. It's not good for your person. And one of the major things they're suggesting is try meditating, try contemplating, try having some quiet time each day. Well, what better means than the use of the Rosary to do exactly what modern psychology is telling us we need to do? That's what the Rosary is. It's a form of contemplating on meditating on the gospel. So we're going to talk about the devotional prayers that the Church have traditionally offered and given to Our Lady. We're going to talk about things like the scapular. Does the Catholic Church really believe that by wearing a little piece of brown cloth connected by cords over your shoulder, that you can receive grace and protection from that? And the answer is yes, but under the right conditions. Yes, when it's accompanied with faith in the truth of what's been revealed. And we're going to talk about things like Marian Consecration. Most of you will know that John Paul II had as his motto, as Pope and as Bishop, the words totus tuus. Totus tuus meaning entirely yours, Mary. This totus tuus comes from a consecration prayer of a great saint named St. Louis Marie de Montfort. Now, people respect John Paul II for an immensity of reasons. He was a leader in terms of world morals. He had an impact on communism falling, as public media will say. He was so loved that heads of states in untold numbers came to his funeral. Well, this is the guy who said that his direction for the church and his direction for his own holiness was entirely Mary, entirely yours. So we've got to pick that apart. Why would John Paul II, a major leader, a man who probably almost certainly will be the third great in the history of the church, why would, of all the possibilities, why would he focus so much on Mary? We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about exactly how we understand Mary in a personal way. It's true, the dogmas of the church, that she's the mother of God, that she's immaculately conceived, that she's the perpetual virgin, that she's assumed into heaven. All of these, the Catholic Church would hold, are true statements contained in Scripture and brought forth in the tradition of the church about the mother of Jesus. But there's another rather important issue. And the issue is, what is Mary's relationship to you? And what's Mary's relationship to me? And this is a doctrine which is called the mother of all peoples, that Mary is the spiritual mother of each and every human being. Well, again, we got to look at that. Is that in Scripture? Is it in the tradition of Christianity? And we could also ask the question, is it fair to have this as part of the tradition for 15 centuries, and then all of a sudden to have a change where we destroy the images of Mary? We don't want any more statues. We don't want icons. These are things that we think are somehow threatening to Jesus. We've got to talk about those things because, in fact, in the history of the church and in the history of Christianity, we're going to see a certain continuity. That what Jesus gives us, by the time he dies and rises and ascends to heaven, he gives with a certainty and with a truth that will grow, that will develop, but it's not going to change. And in fact, you can't have a new Christian truth that's going to happen in the 3rd century, for example, that someone other than Jesus adds. And you can't have it in the 5th or the 7th or the 10th century. And you can't have it in the 15th. And you know what, my friends? You can't have it in the 20th century. So what we have to examine is, what are the truths about Mary? And how long do these truths continue? Where do they originate? And are they legitimate? And that's the type of elements we've got to consider. And I'm going to give you an email address as well, MaryCast@AirMaria.com. And I want to hear your questions because I want to address your questions. And I'm going to address them as honestly as I can so we can have an authentic cast exchange about the mother of Jesus. Because one thing is for certain, my friends, the world is interested on the Mary question. When there was an article on Newsweek in 1997 on Mary, the editors of Newsweek said there was no other issue that received more responses than the issue on Mary. She's a real question for you and for me, so let's examine that together. And that's what we're going to do on MaryCast. And I invite you to come and join us. God bless you.